Hey all, welcome to Parker's Reefs. On today's episode, I'm going to take you through a product that often gets questions asked about it, and I've used it for years and I've always stood by it, so I figured why not do a video on it, and that's Red Sea's Aptasia X. Alright, so if you're new around here, hi, my name's Sam, and this is Parker's Reefs, and this channel is all about reef keeping, whether it be reviews, whether it be events, whether it be photographs, or just updates on people's tanks. So if it sounds like the sort of thing you're interested in, be sure to subscribe below. I think it's that side, or that side, wherever it is. And if you don't want to miss out on any videos, be sure to hit the bell notification so you get notified whenever a new one comes out. But let's get on to what today's all about, and that's about Red Sea's Aptasia X. Now, full disclosure, Red Sea did send me this product to review, but you can rest assured that it's going to be a unbiased review, because I've taken some feedback from some viewers, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to review the product, and then at the end of the video I'll give you 3 pros and 3 cons, and I'm going to do that for every review from here on out. So I'm going to review the product as per normal, but yeah, we'll finish off with a little bit of my 3 favorite things about it, my 3 least favorite things about it. But what is Aptasia X? It's a product that is designed to eliminate aptasias from your aquarium, and if you don't know what aptasia is, you're lucky. Most of us have got a few hiding away. I've got probably about 4,000 in my weir, and I've got a couple hiding about in the aquarium in various places. Basically, they're a little anemone that it's actually doing pretty good things. It filters water, it takes organics out of the water, but unfortunately for us, they tend to reproduce really quickly, and they sting the buggery out of all corals near them. So unless you really like the aptasia that much, more so than your corals, and you just want a tank full of aptasia, you're going to want to kill them off, because before you know it, they will multiply and take over your tank. And that's where this product steps in, Red Sea's Aptasia X. What makes it different is it's a liquid that is actually fed to the anemone. It's not there to inject into them, it's fed to them. The aptasias will willingly take it, they will eat it. And that's what makes the difference, because not only do we want to kill the aptasia that's there, we want to kill all of the eggs inside it. And that's often what you hear about people when they say they've injected aptasia eliminating products and into one aptasia, and then a week later they had 10 small ones around it. That's because the eggs have spilled out of that breeding aptasia, and then you've got all the offspring off it. Now, the life cycle, it's not so much a life cycle, but the time frame it takes from having one egg all the way through to that egg growing up to an aptasia to sexually producing to producing another egg, and the cycle starting again, is 47 days. So if you have an aptasia outbreak in your tank, you're going to want to be on this for 47 days to be sure that you've eliminated everything. If you can spend 47 days, just a couple of minutes each day looking around your tank, making sure that there's none hiding under rocks or between zoas or anything like that, it's a 47-day process to be 100% sure, okay? Now, it doesn't mean you have to do it for 47 days, but you just need to be mindful that if there is an aptasia in there, the process can start again. So if you haven't got them all within 47 days, you could be in strife. All right, and one last thing I want to touch on is that Aptasia X, whilst it might upset your corals a little bit, like your corals aren't going to be super happy if you spray Aptasia X all over them, but it's not going to harm them. They might be upset for a day or half a day or an hour or whatever, but it won't actually harm them at all, and the material, the liquid will just break down into your tank, decompose, and be skimmed out. So it's a very good product if you're trying to get aptasias growing in between colonies, or quite often I see aptasia poking up right in the middle of a little zoa garden where you've got all these nice little zoas all around there and these dirty big ugly aptasia just there in the middle. You can rest assured that if you're going to spray it onto the aptasia, it doesn't matter if you get a little bit outside and you get around the corals. Sure, they'll look upset, they'll be fine. But yeah, let's get on to seeing what's actually inside the box, and then hitting an aptasia that I've been growing for you guys just to see how we kill it. Alright, so let's take a look at what you get in the box. You obviously get the Aptasia X liquid itself. You get some instructions that you're not going to need to read because you've got incredible YouTube videos like this one. You get an appropriate size syringe, which holds a few mil. And then really importantly, you get 2 applicator needles there, one that's straight and one that's got a angled tip, which is really handy for getting ones that are hiding under rocks or just kind of around the corner. Okay, so here's my test case. It's a giant 3 centimeter aptasia. It's one that's big enough to be breeding, and I must admit, you can see by the arrow here and here, I didn't realize there were some babies until I saw the video, so I went back and treated those as well. Here comes the syringe. You can see I don't quite touch the aptasia with it. I get it nice and close, and then I coat the buggery out of it. Now, whilst this looks like a lot of treatment, and it's probably about twice as much as you'd actually need to use, that's 1 milliliter worth of Aptasia X. Now you get 60 ml in the bottle. You see a little arrow there. I can still see a little tentacle out the back there, or whether it's the same one or a little baby under it, I'm not sure. But I used another 1/4 ml to coat that off. So this entire treatment here was 1 1/4 ml. I did go back in with another 1/2 ml to get those other 2 babies later on. So less than 2 ml to treat 3, possibly 4 Aptasia. As you can tell by the sediment floating in the water, I turned the flow off, and after treating the Aptasias, I leave the flow off for 15 minutes. The thing is, you don't want to let the flow of the tank blow the solution off. And I'll switch over to a time lapse so you can see what it looked like for that 15 minutes. And there's this really cool section here where the Aptasia, you can see it's starting to emerge back out again. It's trying to push the Aptasia X off, and then all of a sudden we get a boom. And it basically gives up, it collapses, which is really cool to see. It's ingested it, and now it's just dying away, which is really cool. So what do we look like when we come back 2 weeks later? Well, lucky for you, I've prepared a video for that. So this is 2 weeks later, the same tank. You can see all of those Aptasias are gone, including the little babies. It's all happy days. So it was 1 treatment. I was lucky that I saw those 2 babies, and I did only see those babies after reviewing the video. So it does go to show that you need to be very eagle-eyed, because if I hadn't noticed them, I would have thought that possibly this treatment had created 2 babies, when in fact they were there all along. So a little tip for rookies playing at home: make sure you have a really good look. All right, so there you have it. There's my review of the Aptasia X. As promised, I wanted to go over 3 pros and 3 cons to finish this balanced review out. And if I just check my notes, we'll start off with the cons first, because it's always nice to finish on a high. So if I have to pick 3 things that I don't like about this product, or the 3 things I least like about this product, the first one would be that it's not a silver bullet. And that's probably a bit unfair to label that as a con, because they never suggested it's a silver bullet. It's not that you can drop a pill in your tank and you'll instantly be eliminated of Aptasia forever. It doesn't work like that. It's a treatment. It's not a preventative measure or anything like that. So you have to have an Aptasia, you have to treat it, and ideally, to stop them coming back, you need to treat them all. So that would be my first con. My second con would be, and it's probably unfair to blame the product, because it's not really their fault, but it can be tricky to get to all of them. And it doesn't matter what method you're using, whether you're using lasers or homemade solutions or competing brand products, but it can be quite difficult to get to all the Aptasia. And as it is really necessary to get to all of them, depending on the size of your tank and your scape and where those cheeky little Aptasias are, that can be a bit of a challenge. So you need to prepare for that. You don't just want to go treating one that's in an easy to reach spot and then complaining that they come back because there was another 40 hiding under a ledge that you couldn't be bothered getting to. It's just something you need to be mindful of. All right, my third and final con is, despite the product saying that it's not harmful to other corals, it certainly can upset them, in my experience anyway. If you've got a Aptasia in the middle of zoas, you don't want to just be spraying it around everywhere. You obviously want to target the Aptasia. If you get a bit outside or a bit of spillage or whatever and it does land on something, you could turkey baste it off. You could also leave it there, but I do find that it does upset them a little bit. So particularly with your SBS, after you've done the 15-minute period of no flow, if there's still a bit hanging around your corals and you turn the flow on and it doesn't blow off instantly, I would just get turkey baste or even just the syringe that comes in the kit and just either suck it up or just blow it off the coral, just because it will upset them. If you leave it on there, it will upset them. All right, now, like I said, we'll get on to the positives, because I always like to finish on a high. And my number 1 pro would be that it's super effective. I've heard of people treating Aptasia before and they say that they hit one and then that dies off and then there's 6 around it. I've waited 2 weeks after treating the Aptasia in my tank and there are none around it. It's always worked like that for me. I know some people have had conflicting feedback, but I always found if I don't let the syringe touch the Aptasia, so they don't close up, you've got to hold the syringe in front of the Aptasia, spray the Aptasia X on it, and they will take it in. I find if you do it that way, they don't pop back up. And you've got to make sure, like we touched on earlier, that if there are any others, you've got to get them all at once. There's no use killing one and then having another one reproduce and then saying that the product made it spread. It's not the way it works. You've got to try and get rid of them all at once. All right, pro number 2 is, personally, I find it really good value. A bottle this size retails for $40 Australian. To tackle something like an Aiptasia infestation, that's really good value. $40 Australian doesn't go far in this hobby, and this is a super effective treatment. It's only a pretty small sized bottle, but it treats a lot of Aiptasia. If you've got more than 100 Aiptasia in your tank, you could buy the 1 litre bottle if you really wanted to. You can get that as a top up, so don't have to buy the syringes and stuff again. To be honest, if you've got more than 100 or a couple hundred Aiptasia, you've got a pretty serious problem, and you're going to need more than a little bottle like this. So I would expect that you would be thinking you're going to pay more than $40 for the bottle. But for most tanks, to wipe out any little Aiptasias that are popping up, or even to keep some on the side just in case you get a new coral or something with an Aiptasia on it, this is going to last you a long time. And for $40, I think that's a steal. And my third and final pro, I love the applicator. I love that it comes with a straight syringe and a bent syringe. I personally only use the bent syringe. It's great because even if you've got one straight on, you can tilt your wrist a little bit to get it on an angle, but sometimes you can't tilt your wrist around a corner, if you know what I mean, or get anything under a ledge. It'd be cool if you could even you could probably bend that tip even further to get a full 90-degree application. The 45 one is great though, and I just find it really easy to get to most Aiptasia locations, even in my main display, which is 5 years old now and is pretty heavily grown out. I must admit I have to get the step ladder out and kind of lay over the top of the tank and get my arm twisted down in through my huge Dallas coral, but if I get an Aiptasia popping up there with that bent tip, it's really pretty easy to apply and wipe them out. So that's my third and final pro. Okay, so that wraps up my review. Hopefully you found it useful. It wasn't just a review, it was a bit of a instructional approach on how you got to get the most out of this product. If you've enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, be sure to comment down below. And if you've enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so that you get notified whenever I release more videos. Thanks guys, bye.